Hello. Get my chat thingy working. Okay. I have new headphones so I can actually hear what's happening now. So y'all won't be blasted or surprised or hearing static the whole time or hearing music the whole time. Yes, I know the music's still playing. Hi, Martha. Hi, Mary. Hi, Mom. Yeah, y'all had to hunt me down today. Thank you for finding me. Um, I forgot to schedule it. That's why y'all couldn't find me earlier. Let's see. We do this song. Have the song repeat while we do our news story. Welcome to today's Tuesday live stream, our Q&A. We are an appraisal firm. We did you did hunt, Mary. Thank you for hunting. Yes. Uh, we are an oil and gas appraisal firm. We do education for oil and gas mineral owners and the general public or anyone who wants to know more about oil and gas. I'm also a certified mineral appraiser and licensed professional engineer. I'm the owner of Pecan Tree, and we have a firm of about 6 of us, and we're independent. We have pecantreeog.com is our website, and pecanestimate.com is our app. Feel free to poke around, create an account. It's free to create an account. I'm trying to remember all the things I need to say starting off these things, so I'm not just like a random person. I mean, I'm a random person talking on the internet. Let's be honest here, but not as random as maybe if I were to introduce myself for once. Um, yeah. Let's see. Do I like the music? Hmm. Maybe it's just a different song. Let's try a different song. All right, we're gonna test out having really light music in the background during boring news stories, because I do have like one or two. I know that there's a couple of y'all that are West Texas that I wanted to hit this news story real quick. Um, Again, I know there's a variety of lots of news stories out there, but let's see if my news thingy actually. Ooh, that's fun. I'm a professional. Here we go. Okay. Oop. Gives away the news story when I do it this way, though. Don't hear the music. Oh no. Well, that's no fun. It's probably just loud in my ears, but not to y'all's. If I do this, I bet y'all can hear it, right? I'm just curious if you can hear it now. Still nothing? Okay, if y'all can't hear it, then I'm just gonna turn it off. So we're not pretending like, you know, I'm just going crazy, not hearing music. Okay, so top headline, which wah wah, Waha gas prices turn negative again. This is West Texas, so I do have a map of what they're talking about here. Oh, okay, so it was just low for y'all, barely, mostly noise. Okay, yeah, no, it's a. I don't actually. I need to. I tried to QC quite a bit over the weekend. I got the camera working, but for some reason the audio is still. It works fine for videos. I don't know what's different with streaming, so I'll get it figured out. Okay, so we have the West Texas natural gas prices. So this is Waha is a hub in West Texas, and this news story It's saying that if you're getting paid oil and gas from something out in West Texas, your gas side of that oil and gas equation is not giving you any money right now. And this might take a couple months before it gets to your check, if you're getting a check. But as of September 15th, which is yesterday, it was like negative 60 cents. And I think it peaked at a low of or maxed out at a low of like $1.60 or somewhere in there. So they're saying that this is mostly due to pipeline maintenance, but also record high production, and they've hit a record high production number every year since 2018. So, and that's on the gas side. Oil has hit a record high production every year since 2019 or 2016, I think. So they're just continuously more and more production, and there's just, there's only so much you can fit through a little pipeline. So whenever there's a maintenance on those pipelines and they shut one of them down, it causes issues. So those pipelines are the Kinder Morgan El Paso pipeline. I can make that a little bigger. And that is the one that, it sounds like, goes through El Paso, from West Texas through El Paso to the west through New Mexico, Colorado, California, Arizona, and then also Whitewater, MPLX, and Enbridge's Whistler pipeline, which connects the West Texas to the Gulf Coast, down through almost to Mexico border type of area. So these two are major pipeline routes that are both, constrained due to, expected maintenance, but at the same time it's causing hiccups. And we've seen this quite a bit over the last year, and it's just going to continue to happen until the overall capacity is increased. The trend is what I would more look at here, is that as they continue to produce more and more gas, the trend, even including the hiccups and things that can cause either weather or maintenance or disruptions in the market, the trend is that there's still a downward trend for Waha gas. This is pulled from Natural Gas Intelligence's website, and I have links to the Reuters article on this, and these images and the statements on the maintenance. There was one, maybe silver lining, bright, sunny, shiny future for this, and that is that there's I think there's several projects in the works. This looked to be one of the bigger ones, which is a 450-mile gas pipeline, which is set to ease bottlenecks in the specific region of Texas. And this is, this is for producers of oil and gas, not for, if you're a resident that has a natural gas hookup to their home. This is in order to get more capacity out of West Texas from where it's all being produced, just the gas pipelines. There is a large pipeline that is being built between West Texas and Arizona, just to the west, further that way. There's also talks of more capacity towards Mexico, because that is also, let's see, yeah. I mean, obviously, if this is West Texas, you have a large opportunity to sell to Mexico if there was demand and opportunity and the ability and capacity and all the ways to do that there, all the political everything worked that direction. And there are pipelines going that way. These are just Energy Transfers. Energy Transfer is a company. This is just their pipelines this is their announcement of this project on Business Wire. But so this is just their pipelines being shown here. And the Transwestern is this brown one here. And then these light blue ones are just intrastate pipelines. So they just move stuff around Texas. And then the dark blue ones are the ones that are moving gas from state to state. So just a little pipeline update there. Not a whole lot. I mean, there's other things obviously in the news that we could cover. I don't honestly want to cover them. Let's see. Now, here's a big question. Is my camera still blurry? It was a little blurry before. I tried to autofocus it, and it kept focusing on random things. So I'm trying to manually focus it, and now it's still... Okay. I think that's good. All right. The other thing is I did get... Martha, I got your question. Thank you for submitting it. If anyone would like to ask a question, you can either email it to tracy@pecantrog.com or kelly@pecantrog.com. Either one of us can get it to me. I mean, Tracy@Pecantry is my email. Just let me know in the chat if you do. And then you can also, if you're watching this on a replay, you can email it after the fact and we will hit it next week. We do this same Q&A every Tuesday at noon Central Time, unless I forget to schedule it, and then it's noon 05 that it starts instead of noon. Martha, let's get to your question. I'm going to say ahead of time that your question is not my primary area of expertise, but I will address it either way. So, I'm going to go to... move this over a little. Hopefully it's okay if I just cut and paste the whole thing. Okay. So your question is that your mineral interest is in Tyler County, West Virginia, and which is the Marcellus Shale. Apparently there's lithium in the wastewater from the mining of gas and oil. We're wondering if another company become involved with extracting the lithium. If so, we want to make sure they know we own the mineral rights. How? It's currently fairly experimental, but predicted that the area could provide 40% of the U.S. lithium needs. So, yes, there's a lot of lithium questions and experimentation happening, especially on the East Coast, especially where there's a lot of, just general wastewater. Lithium is a water soluble compound, so it's extracted from the water. So if you're never considered the fact that oil or gas could be a mineral, then you probably never especially thought of something that was dissolved in water could be a mineral. But here we are. So if you want to, maybe it might help if anyone's struggling in this, the idea that salt, we know that salt's a mineral, right? Salt dissolves in water. And so it's a similar concept that if you were to be extracting the salt from the water, that's basically what they're doing with the lithium. So if they were to extract the lithium from wastewater, from something that's already producing oil and gas, how does that work? Who owns it? Who controls it? Who is the mineral lessee, the person who leased the minerals? Is it all the minerals? Is it just the oil and gas? Is it unfortunately it really depends on your lease, your specific lease and the terms that were in it that the current company is operating under. So if the current company who is producing the gas and oil, I mean it's mostly gas in the Marcellus, but there is oil that goes along with it normally. The company that is producing that gas and oil, there is a document that controls all of those terms. And I think I remember that y'all have not had luck getting that document because you've been a non-participating mineral owner. Is that what I remember? Where you're not the one signing it, I think. If that's the case, then it might be hard for you to see exactly what terms those are, but it's in that document. So the document that, let's say that EQT was your producer of the gas. they are operating on your land with a contract that says, here's exactly what we have rights to and exactly how much we're going to pay you per X amount of that thing that we're producing from your land, and here's what controls it. In that statement, in that lease, says if it's just the oil and gas and NGLs, or is it, or like natural gas liquids or plant products. Like there's usually 3 things that are addressed. Or if it's all minerals, it's not usually stated as all minerals. And usually it does limit it to just the oil and gas lease. But as you go across different areas of the country and you have different landmen who have a different norm of what their company operates under, different things are the normal lease. So I would not ever assume that there is a typical lease. Obviously, there's things that are more common than others, but there's not a standard lease. Despite what anyone might try to tell you, there's no standard lease. So really, it depends on if lithium is not considered part of the current lease, and that's a legal question. I'm not a lawyer. I can't really answer that, especially without seeing the full document that you're operating under. But if, let's just say that everyone determined that it was a separate component and that the current oil and gas lease does not cover the lithium in the water, then theoretically, yes, you can lease that to another company. How they would become involved with extracting the lithium would probably get a little interesting, because then you'd have 2 companies trying to extract a mineral from the mineral estate, and it there's definitely lots of lands across the country that have 2 operators extracting minerals from the same land. Usually it's different wells with different depths and whatnot. A lot of times you'll have one operator, usually the smaller mom and pop operator, operating the small older wells that are end of life, and they don't require a whole lot. They don't make a whole lot, but that's all the mom and pop companies want to do. And then you have the companies with the bigger capital budgets that are drilling the wells and doing the big horizontal wells, and they're operating those. And it can get a little complicated with those companies working together when you have the lands right there next to each, like those wells right there next to each other. And that's even if they're separate wells. So I don't actually know how it would work if you had 2 different companies trying to individually extract it, but I imagine you could work with one company and lease the lithium part of the water to another. Like maybe there's, I don't know, it's getting a little complicated at that point, and these are all hypothetical things that I have not been a part of, so I can't say exactly, but I know that there's a lot of research around this and a lot of like testing of this. And at the latest Narrow conference, I'm trying to find my notes on that, Karen Bogish did a presentation on lithium. And so Karen practices in Texas. She's actually here in Austin, and that's how I met her. And she gave a presentation on lithium extraction and some of the latest terms and things that are being tried and established, and everyone's kind of establishing how this would work, because it's never exactly been done like this. There's always been a view that the water is part of the surface estate and the minerals are part of the mineral estate. And so then how you handle something that is a mineral in the water really blurs the lines between the 2, and it's very dependent on that state's exact understanding and definition of the different and case law and all that stuff, all that fun stuff that I just find out about 3 years later. That's where that intersection of all that stuff happens. Now, the nice thing is that that last part of the question, we want to make sure they know we own the mineral rights. They will know. That's the nice thing, is that if you are already being paid by another company for interest in these minerals, then that means that somebody knows, and that's the company that's paying you for the existing oil and gas production. And that indicates a lot of things. That indicates that it's probably filed with the county correctly, that you actually do own the minerals, always good, and that it's findable. Like, people can figure that out, and that's how they got to paying you in the first place. If you're watching this and you're not under one of those criteria, like you're not currently getting paid on anything, you're not currently working with a company, no one has found you through like trying to lease your minerals or something like that, and especially if you haven't ever filed with the county where the minerals are, saying that you are the owner, whether it's your establishing like your title, like you just bought it, and that title's, I think if you're buying minerals, hopefully you know that you need to file with the county. But usually when people inherit those minerals, it's a little less clear. A lot of times people only think to file something in this county or state where the person passed away or where they live, while they don't think about other property might not technically exist, where it's not like a house where you, like, I know that my house is in this county where I'm living, and I know that someone else's house is in that county where they're living, but you don't really think about the fact that this random deed is technically property, and that random deed to minerals needs to be filed with the county where those minerals are, just like a house. So sometimes that gets lost, especially if it gets separated from like the estate or the trust, because they didn't think of like grouping it in. So you have like grandma's estate, which was put into grandma's trust, and then that went through all the channels it should have gone through, and then you have grandma's separate property, which is like in her name still because it never got put into the trust. And then, yeah, things happen quite frequently that are like that. And then I would not assume they know how to find you, but only because no one would know how to find you. Even an oil and gas producer would have trouble finding you. And so as long as the oil and gas producers are able to find you, then I would assume that a lithium producer would know how to find you and would know that you have mineral rights. Now for Martha, if it's confusing with the county that you're an owner, like maybe you had to fight with your current oil and gas company to prove that you were an owner, then there's probably something you could file with the county that's, I'm not expert enough to know the exact terms, but it's something, I've seen things like, was it stipulation of interest, I think? Something where it basically lays out, here's what's happening, here's what's going on, for avoidance of doubt, like those type of things. Here's our understanding of what's happening. I'm willing to sign my name on the fact that I'm not lying about this and get it notarized and file it with the county. That only has so much backing, right? Because you could say whatever you want. And really the title that leads up to that is what matters. But it at least helps clarify things and helps people get on the right track. It does not help if you're wrong and you put the wrong numbers in there, and then it just gets confusing. But it at least helps people find you and make sure they know. And let's see, affidavit of heirship. Yeah, that can work. Yeah. Again, it kind of depends on what you're trying to. You're trying to establish something, or you're trying to. An affidavit of heirship would say I am the heir of. Here's this person. These people were their children, and here's why I think that I own what I own. Just making sure everything's filed. Honestly, talking to a lawyer in the state that you're doing stuff in, or someone who can do law in like oil and gas law in the state that you're, for example, like West Virginia here. That's the best route, but I know that some of the people watching this, your estates are too small to make it worth paying a lawyer thousands of dollars. But first, I would make sure that you know that your estate is too small to do that. Our app is specifically designed to help people figure that out so that you're not spending thousands of dollars before you know if it's worth it or not. Our app is specifically set up that you can go in there and check to see if something like that is worth doing before you start spending any money, really even. I guess I'll hop over to that really quick. Let me set it up to where I can. Again, if y'all have questions, the people watching, if you have a question, you want to pop it in the chat. I can hit that. I'm going to hop over to our app and just kind of show off some things in the meantime. But happy to jump back to questions. Visiting a West Virginia attorney next week. Good. Hopefully they help you out and, get you on the right track. Where are you based, Martha? Don't get too specific because we're on the public internet, but like, what state are you in? I know you've told me, I just can't remember. I'm sorry. Okay, I now have my thing here to where y'all can see. Oh dear. Okay, one sec. Okay, you're in Michigan. I don't think I did. I don't think I knew that actually. That does not sound familiar to me. Let's try this again. I was trying to make the window smaller. But we'll actually... There, now y'all can see a little more of the screen once. Okay, so Mary, you're in South Carolina and Martha's in Michigan. Okay. I'll try to keep that straight. Martha, we need to work on the Pecan Tree app. Happy to help. I think you've sent some of the stuff to us, but feel free to send. If you need any help with anything, let us know. We can help get that set up. So if you're on our Pecan Estimate site, right now I'm logged in to where this is someone with a portfolio subscription. Sees all these additional tabs across the top. But if you don't, then you'll just see tracks across this top part here. But you'll see this create a tract either way. And you can either go to select a state and go to West Virginia. Or you can go to create a tract and you'll get to the same map. It decided to not go to West Virginia. So we'll manually zoom over. So we designed this where it's specifically, oh, that's funny. There's multiple. We really want to make sure you know the legend on this map. If you're in let's say that you're not in Tyler County. Let's say you're in Hardy County. And you want to know if it's worth talking to a lawyer, and the lawyer says it's going to be, $8 million. They're not going to say that. But let's say they have like an $8,000 retainer or $2,000 retainer. And you want to know if your 1 acre of land in Hardy County, your 1 acre of mineral rights in Hardy County is worth it to spend, $2,000 or $8,000 on an attorney. And now obviously this is not like us saying there's nothing that's worth it here. It's just saying the oil and gas specifically in this entire, area here is very minimal. Like this is the minimal under $50 per acre value. So NRA is net royalty acre. So if you're unleased, you can just generally assume about 1 acre is 1 net royalty acre if you just want simplistic math there. If you want to get fancy, it's at a max 2 mineral acres is 2 royalty acres equals 1 mineral acre. It's like a way to get apples to apples, and we have calculators and stuff that can help you with that. But the crux of it is if you have 1 net acre here and you're wanting to spend anything more than $100 on it, it might not even be worth filing. Now, I always recommend cleaning things up as much as possible, but the filing fees might be $30, $40, right, for when it's all said and done. That's why these fractional interests really get difficult, because just managing of these minerals gets more expensive than the value of the minerals themselves. So if you own a $100,000 car, then you'll do a lot to it in order to make sure it gets into the right names and is stored in the right places and taken care of and maintained. But as that car diminishes in value, once you're to your, 1972, Ford that is on its last leg and you've replaced the engine 3 times, you probably don't want to spend, we'll just say, maybe you don't have a car wash subscription on that particular asset that you have, for example. Maybe it doesn't make it into your will, because the time for the lawyer to write it up is not worth the amount that the car is. I don't know. To each their own. You can't. For all of those things, you can't. Just your choices on what you're going to be doing is different. So if we're over in Tyler County, though, and I'm assuming that West Virginia calls them counties. I think Louisiana is the only one that calls them parishes and other things. But I know that I've never lived in this part of the country. So I'd be giving myself away if they're not actually called counties. But let's say that you're in this Tyler area and you have 20 acres. And maybe you have 100 acres and you don't know if it's gross or net. You don't know the difference. You just know you have 100 acres somewhere in this purple. Okay, well, this purple is a very high value area. It's over $10,000 per net royalty acre based on our all-inclusive model. And okay, well, if it's worth over $10,000 per acre and I have more than an acre, then I probably want to at least, make sure it's filed correctly. Maybe I'll spend, a couple hundred or a couple thousand on an attorney to make sure things are handled correctly. If I have more than 1 or 2 acres, then I probably want to make sure I'm running that lease past a lawyer before I'm leasing anything. If there's any disputes between ownership, it can really matter. The difference between a couple acres can make a big difference. District. Okay, they're called districts. Are they? They are? Oh, I thought that there were districts within these. Okay. But let's say that there's, this is how you can get this general knowledge without, so I didn't even create an account yet. Like you could do all this without even being logged in. You can look at our site, and as long as you know where your property is, and we have the different ways that you can search an address, you can search the legal description. I clicked Tucker. Tyler. Then you can also, we don't quite have as many ways to search the East Coast quite yet as we do the rest of the country. West Virginia is a meets and bounds state rather than a PLSS state, so it doesn't have the nice like grid lines and townships and ranges that other states have. So we have to build in their specific like districts, for example. We haven't done that yet. Tyler County, Ellsworth District. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, y'all were both right. It was just the context. So yes. Oh, okay. I'm not completely off base here. Tyler County. We don't have the districts, so like there's like little subdivisions basically in here, and we don't have that built in yet. Now, what you can do is, if you have the shapefile from anywhere else, you can load that shapefile. And you can also free draw if you know what it looks like there. And a lot of times when I'm doing work in Pennsylvania or West Virginia or Ohio, I'll go to that county's appraisal district, and Tyler County, West Virginia, CAD. And it might not be called CAD there. But let's see. So I clicked on one called the Parcel Viewer, which I'm thinking is probably sponsored by the CAD. Yeah, so you can take something like this and find your specific land and go to our site, and you can either draw it in or let me turn off these layers so it's not as you can draw it in, go into the land search, go to free draw, and we're just going to start with a square, and I'm going to say edit geometry. Let me clear this. We know exact locations of wells. Yep. I'm just helping others who may not know. So if you're not sure, this is so I hit edit geometry, and you can move stuff around that way. If you know the well name, you can go to the well search. Yeah, no, I recommend not giving the parcel number on live stream. Thank you. It's and honestly, so if any of y'all do happen to give out information that you don't want recorded, like long term, I'm going to actually there. I can go in and like blur out things after the fact. So just let me know. Like you can email me, Martha. I took the number off off the chat, but yeah, no, we'll look at the exact parcel and number, all that stuff after the fact. If you want to email that to me, I can help you make sure it's all built in correctly. Just looking at the theoretical, like how you might find it. Okay, so then So there is a feature I did want to point out. So we're having some map upgrades in progress. So you'll be seeing more and more available on our map. We have a legend now, for example. If you go to, if you are a portfolio subscriber and you go to the Wells tab, now there is a map on the Wells tab, which, you know, I love my maps, so it's always exciting to be able to, you can click on it and get the details. But if you just click on the row, it'll highlight that well on the map, and you can expand. And so now you can see exactly which well. You're like, oh, I've never seen that well before. Why does it say I have an interest in this well? What is that? It'll zoom you over to it, and you can look at it on the map and say, oh, you know what? I only have interest to the south. I don't have interest to the north. I can, and then if you determine you don't actually have interest in that well, you can zoom over and working on our scroll bar still. You can say disable. So you can disable that well so it doesn't show up anymore. This is our way of trying to help y'all manage what wells you have interest in and what those wells are worth from a both well level, and then how that rolls up into the tracks. And then in the tracks, what remaining growth potential is, what maturity is that asset, what is the income outlook, what's the monthly revenue, what is our all-in number, like our Zillow's estimate of the property. Like this is where we're trying to make it as simple as possible to see everything you need to know about your property and then also manage it. So Martha, oops, all good. Also on our dashboard, this map is also now available on the main dashboard. So this is the portfolio dashboard, and you can see it the same way. So I have a lot of properties in this particular portfolio that are spread out, but let's say that you're just concentrated on like an East Texas property here. You can actually move this around without even having to expand it. And I think I mentioned this last time, we have files that you can now upload and tag. And let's see. Yeah, Jason JD have been doing quite a bit on new features. Like a lot of times there's stuff behind the scenes it's fun. Like I know it's happening, but it's not something that's externally, viewable as to what's happening. But whenever we're working on features that are, front facing, it's always fun to show those off. Let's see. What other questions could we cover? I could do a poll. If I could figure out how to do it, I'll show y'all what I see. So y'all can follow along with me figuring out how to do it. This is what I see. I think I can do a poll. And we can do a poll start a poll for what should we make next week's focus topic. So every live stream I like to start with something kind of pre-prepared for, whether it's news or a deep dive into a certain topic or a deep dive into a question. Let's go ahead and vote right now for y'all watching this. And if I can have this available after the fact, I'll keep it live and open for y'all to answer after. I'm not sure. This is my first time doing a poll on a live stream. So what should we make next week's focus topic? let's see. I was thinking we could do continuous development clauses. So that's in leasing. You can make it to where they have to continue to develop in order to maintain that lease. So they can't just drill one well and call it a day. We can dig into those a little bit. We can do basin overviews. So kind of highlights on major basins. I went to I have not many characters with this. We'll just say highlights. Any other suggestions for a topic next time? We can deep dive into lithium. We could do more artificial lift. So we could maybe do gas lift. Like, so we did the pumping units. We did pumping units, I think 2 weeks ago. So we could do pumping units. Well, there's a different type of lift called gas lift, which you can't really see as much from the surface, but is just as effective in lots of ways. So I'll go ahead and say, let's see how that works. I'll put it between those four, and we'll see how this works. Okay. What else can I see? Okay, make sure to like the video if you are watching this right now, because that does help. Helps with our, all the things that YouTube is watching. And yes, you can see our concurrent viewers we're up to 5 right now, guys. That's so many. The problem is I actually got sleep last night, and I just don't know what to do myself when I got sleep. I'm too alert. I should be too productive right now. When I'm not productive, I'll just ramble, and I think that makes a better video sometimes. Also, I wanted to point out on our precondryog.com site, we have a lot more information. We've changed it quite a bit. If this is the first time you've checked in like a year or so. Specifically our information on our products. So portfolio, that has more information on a subscription service. Reports are like pecan estimate and other one-time insights and reports that we're going to be rolling out even more on later. Appraisals is the typical appraisals if you're looking for certified things for tax, estate, or legal use. And then our consulting and how to sign up for consulting here. But also our model, if you want more information on our model, like what is behind what we're doing. I did have one interesting question. I was on a call with someone. They said, "Oh yeah, I assume that there's lots of AI happening behind the scenes to do all these things." And I was like, whoa, hold up a sec. Actually, there's actually not any AI in our model. Much to the dismay of some of our investors or people who wanted to be investors. It's like the fun thing to do, right? Like it's a thing that attracts a lot of investment right now, is anything AI related. But ours is actually based in like very firm engineering. We aren't doing any AI because I don't think there's enough training happening on the AI side for this particular topic in order to give reliable enough results to do something like appraisal. And so if we're not able to do appraisal level things with AI, then there's no point in me having something that's subpar just because we can. Like, I'm sure you could chat GPT things for free without me creating, I don't know. trash in, trash out. I don't think there's good enough training yet on the AI side. I think that it's definitely a potential, but our particular model does not include any AI. There's a lot of code behind the scenes, but it's all just being very programmatic in how an engineer does things, how a geologist does things, how, a finance person and economist would run all this stuff through and then pulling it together. So that's what we're doing. And then we're taking a lot of public data and, some proprietary data, a lot of in-house created data by analysis, and then pulling that all together into our valuation model. But we go more into that in our model part of our website. So if you're ever curious on what we're doing specifically. And then also on the pecan estimate on the bottom, we have our methodology under resources. And that's where you'll find our latest pricing that we're running through. So right now we are running our September pricing through the model. I'm just about to hit live on our September run of the model. So we have a process where every month we bring all the inputs together, we refine everything, rerun all the important, it's kind of like a full update once a month. We do little by little updates throughout the month, that individual wells, individual areas, individual parcels, but once a month the entire model gets refreshed and reran, and I'm reviewing that today, and then that will go live later today. But right now the September pricing is already running through it, and here's a little more detail on what September pricing looks like. So as of September 2nd, because the 1st was a holiday, we always run it on the 1st of the month. And then we also have the definitions of the more specific definitions of what is fair market value, what is proved probable and possible reserves, what adjustment factors are you using, so what discount rate, and how are you reconciling risk for the different categories, what methodology are you using for things that are undeveloped. So we have both of those things there. We get these questions quite often, and we're going to be expanding our model inputs and definitions as, we're always working on something. But a lot of times people miss the fact that these two things are here. Again, they're at the bottom under methodology. They're also under, let's see, I think it used to be here, but I think it left here somehow. But I am going to start using the model updates link. It's our blog for, we're going to start a process that rolls out a monthly update, what changed month to month. But for now, you can just get to it here, or by watching the YouTube live. You can ask a question. So let's see. Has anyone voted in our poll? Let's check out if we have any voting results. Oh, basin overview. Oh, we have four votes. Good job, guys. I'm proud of you. Let's do this. So next week's focus topic. Right now, basin overview is winning with 2 votes. Continuous development and deep dive into lithium is second and third. I'm a little sad because the artificial lift side, that's kind of my thing. But I understand it's not as fun for everybody else. I'm thinking we'll probably end up doing a basin overview, hopping around, hitting the major highlights of all the different basins. So I'll probably do something like that. Oh, you get this nice little inception thing happening. It's fine. I will try to leave that poll open for anyone watching this on the replay. See if that works. If it doesn't work, I'll post something in our community tab. So make sure you are subscribed, and make sure that you are able to see if I do post something in the community tab, you're able to get any polls. Because I'll try to put more polls and stuff, as I'm able to. Let y'all help pick what we're doing next. What is artificial lift? So that is when the reservoir doesn't have enough pressure to like send a gusher up to the surface, like you see in the movies with oil and gas just like blowing to the surface and then it's like splattering all over everything. That is, I guess, non-artificial. So what, real lift, like natural lift, primary lift. That's the primary recovery from the reservoir, is when it's just using its own pressure to gush the fluids out of the reservoir. Artificial lift is when you don't have enough pressure to get the stuff from the bottom to the top, or there's something that stops it. So a lot of times gas reservoirs will have water that, like, little water droplets will accumulate to where there's just enough water that it stops the gas from flowing, and you just have to get that water off in order to keep the gas going. So it's just some geeky little things. Mineral owners don't necessarily need to know it, but I think it is helpful when you're looking at all the costs that go into it and maintaining the wells, and like why it might fluctuate month to month, why you might get certain fees, deductions, or why certain parts of your well might be more valuable than others. So I think it's useful to know more about that, but again, it's a little nerdier, so I understand. Okay. All right. Well, it's 1:05, and since we don't have a super exciting agenda today, I will let y'all go. Class dismissed. Thank you so much for joining us today. As always, I really appreciate y'all tuning in. Love being able to talk directly to, like, you as a viewer and answer questions directly, to you, and things that you might want to know, because I don't know, I think that's the thing I enjoy most about having this company is that I'm able to talk directly to the people who own the assets. And when I was working for an operator, it was very much of a wall. Like, you talked to your boss and maybe their boss and then your coworkers, and it just wasn't, as Mary says, cover all topics in the next 4 weeks. I'm sure I will eventually get to all those. Are the topics that I'm most interested in covering, so I'm sure I'll eventually cover them. But yeah, I know that a live stream, a YouTube live stream, isn't necessarily the most, this isn't the most popular live stream ever, but I do really like talking to y'all. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see y'all next week. Okay. If I can, I keep moving stuff on my little dashboard here. So thanks, Mary. Thanks, Martha. Thanks, Alice. Thanks to everyone else who was quiet on live stream. I understand being quiet, so that's totally fine. I don't mind at all. Yeah, but just know you're always welcome to chat if you would like to join the little chat group going on right now, because y'all all seem so sweet. So